And we're joined now by Zoë Martlew, who is a composer, cellist and educator. How good an orchestra are they, do you think?
Well, first you have to put it in the context of the incredible, almost ecstatic enthusiasm with which they've been greeted. This concert was sold out almost a year in advance. 2,000 people turned up to hear the open rehearsal of Stravinsky's Rite of Spring a couple of days ago. There was a live relay screen in a pop concert type manner, and the enthusiasm with which they were greeted I have never seen in a classical concert of music in the UK before. So they have clearly pressed a very powerful button for English audiences. They are extraordinarily powerful to watch. They're beautiful, they radiate passion, enthusiasm and above all discipline. Every single player, and they're aged between 12 and 27 according to my programme, some looked a little bit older, but they radiate a passion and a commitment and a concentration as though their lives depend on what they're playing, which indeed they have done. Many of them, 3/4 of them apparently, have lived below the poverty line. The discipline and the concentration they showed is brought together in an incredible symbiosis with Dudamel, who they clearly respect and entirely and love. And he has the ability and charisma to pull them all together. Now, if one is going to sound a critical note with the orchestra, they play with a passion, with a sound and a commitment, which is incredible. But I think it's dangerous to compare them to the great orchestras of the world. They are one of the great youth orchestras. Yeah. They do things that youth orchestras do.
But Michael Portillo, just looking at them, there's 200 on stage. I mean,
yeah, I mean, I thought they were terrific. I'm not in a position to comment really on the musicianship. I mean, I know both the pieces that I sat through, which were the Tchaikovsky and the Bartok, both of which, you know, I've heard sound more Russian. I've heard the folk elements in them sound more folky. You know, they are young people, they do whack at it.
He talks of Tchaikovsky as a Venezuelan composer almost, because they've grown up with it. It's in their blood.
I think this is an interesting point, because when I shut my eyes, I thought there was a deep problem. They don't understand what we have. We have to remember Venezuela is a relatively new country. We have an incredible cultural history, going back to the symphonic tradition of Haydn in the mid-18th century, and almost 900 years of music going back before it. These guys got together the El Sistema system, which gave birth to this orchestra 30 years ago. When I listen to the music, there are things that they can't yet do. Rubato, that's the stretching and giving of time, which is essential to Tchaikovsky, missing. I miss the silences between phrases.
But is that the teaching of it? I mean, because you're going to see kids here who are not even remotely even interested in this would never get that idea of stretching either, would they?
It's because they're speaking music that's not in their own language. They don't have that cultural tradition. So it was very strange for me hearing it. I think, something's not working here.
I disagree so much on the Tchaikovsky,
but what links them is the journey. It's an emotional and spiritual journey that both Bartok and Tchaikovsky had. These are death-obsessed pieces.
And why don't we have that here? I mean, obviously there are pilot programmes, but why don't we have this tradition of practically giving every child an instrument?
Classical music is held in contempt in this country.
Very quickly, briefly, you go first, Ian. No, Ian, you go first.
Oh, and I just felt we don't have the cultural confidence to go into schools and say, you will learn classical music, because classical music is, by our definition, worth learning. We're scared of that elitism.
Well, but we did have that system. We did have that system in 1950 to 1975. A fantastic and brilliant scheme called Local Authority Music Services was set up in this country. Every single child in this country had access to free musical tuition and instruments, and every authority was responsible for giving. There was a flagship county youth orchestra, a whole network of junior youth orchestras. All kinds of things were going on in this country. But disaster struck in '88 with the Tory government's education reform policy, which deemed that music services was no longer essential. At that point...
Mistake, Michael Portillo?
I would go back to something more fundamental. There is no belief in this country amongst poor people that education is the way to their improvement. And there is no belief amongst the educators that elitism can be any part of what you teach poor people. And so what's happening in Venezuela, which is that poor people are being raised by education and by music, is culturally impossible in this country.
But it's also more than that, is it? At the end, did you think it was slightly schmaltzy? Did you think it became a little bit tacky?
Well, what I'm slightly worried about for their sake is they become performing monkeys doing their Bernstein mambo and chucking the jackets around when we stop taking them seriously. It could be gimmicky. But we did have a system of passionate music education in this country, and we've lost a generation of teachers and musicians because of it.
Through lack of investment.
Through lack of investment, and it's coming back now.